We're live. Okay, welcome everyone who is hopping on. I'm just going to take a moment and get us set up so we can see everyone's comments as we go through today. Okay. There we go. So welcome, Sasha. So glad you're here. Yay. Okay. So we have a wonderful evening ahead today with Jacqui O'Connor from New Zealand. So I just wanted to do a brief intro to this monthly conversation. So welcome to Sacred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. So the concept of this gathering is to have sacred conversations with multitudes of women who embody and teach the sacred work of the divine feminine. So the idea is to begin to break the taboos around all things sacred that have most recently previously been casted as not. So we're talking about all things taboo before they were taboo when they were sacred. Also under this umbrella of divine feminine, because some women will often say, well, like, what is divine feminine? So we're talking about things like sacred sexuality, herbalism, different art forms, metallurgy, astrology, crystal work, womb wisdom, astrology, energy work, healers. All of this really fits under the umbrella of the divine feminine. And we look at this in the angle of that we're speaking about it all in the name of truth, love, and for the greatest good of humanity. So part of my belief is that our world has been greatly disconnected from this sacred experience of life. And part of my mission and the mission of the women that come into this space, and for the women who are here holding space and joining us, is that we are here as a voice of truth. So for me personally, through love and pleasure, but also to break the binds of what we've been taught as taboo. So sex as sacred sexuality, drugs as Mother Nature's medicine, and plant medicine, and dance in terms of music and movement that connects us to our soul. So this is the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So this week we have Jacqui coming all the way from New Zealand. Jacqui is a nurse practitioner who has left her clinical position to dare to care differently. I love this. And she is here to share about her visionary approach with the Heart Place Hospital, which she is building in New Zealand, and her whole health alternatives that she offers through her New Earth medicine. So welcome, Jacqui.
Thank you, Meg.
So glad you're here.
So cool to be here.
Yeah, I thought we could jump in sort of by giving you the opportunity to speak into how you feel your work plays into the divine feminine energy.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I think just to give a bit of context, obviously I've been a woman for 48 years, so I'm 48 years young. And I remember being a little girl being, very connected to the magic and miracles and mystics, and that was kind of okay to do that as little girls, being sort of fairies and talking to fairies and dancing around gardens, and then it wasn't okay, and I mean in society and with our conditioning, and so yeah, and that's what I had modeled. Had modeled that you grow up and you don't tap into that side of things. So a little bit of context: I had a health journey myself as a little girl. So hence my business being called Heart Place Hospital. I had a open heart surgery as an 8-year-old, which I believe led me into healthcare, because it was part of my journey. If you think we're all just paper dolls all lined up, it was one of my paper dolls. And I was very much physically healed, hadn't experienced my emotional or spiritual healing through that, and I'd say most people could say that about their earlier years without having had to have had open heart surgery. And so I went into healthcare, but also I went into healthcare because now when I look back, I'm a healer. And so the only spaces that I saw that healers went into was into traditional healthcare. And I know there's some people who are my generation who ended up in alternative, but I never saw that modelled. So what I saw modelled was traditional healthcare. So I went into healthcare, and then my healthcare journey was just this continuous go burn out, go burn out, go burn out, and I had thoughts that I wasn't enough, that I was too sensitive, that I wasn't strong enough, and so there was a real not enough mindset. And then I absolutely 100% all my life I've had taps on my shoulder. I just was like, nah, out of here. And then I would have 4x4s in the back of my head. And then eventually 6.5 years ago, I had a Mack truck in my face. So that's my perfect storm. And that's where literally I was stopped. And so that manifested as anorexia, agoraphobia, claustrophobia, panic attacks, anxiety. And so I know now, society calls that a breakdown or mental decline, whereas I now know it was, me being planted and woken up. And so I'm super grateful, as uncomfortable as it was. What it led me to do is because the only tools I had in my medicine bag at the time was busyness, people pleasing, and perfectionism. And I'm super grateful for all of those as well, because they helped me survive until I got to that point where it was my time to be woken up. And so much synchronicity. So much of it was so like making sense of my life makes sense. It was all so synchronized. So it came about after a like unrelated surgery, my first general anaesthetic since my open heart surgery, on the anniversary of my open heart surgery at the same hospital. So message received. So it was uncomfortable, but what it did do is it slowed me down. It stopped me actually, and my whispers returned, and so that's my intuition. And it's what I call my inner knowing, my inner pilot light. It's what I call my umbrella voice. That voice that when you walk past the umbrella and it says, take the umbrella. And you're like, but it's sunny. Like I'm not, logically you go, but it's sunny. And then, but here goes, take me. And so, and so I just started taking the umbrella, and I started taking a breadcrumb, and it just led me on this wild and wonderful, blissful journey. So, and it was outside of what had been modeled. It was outside of all the examples I'd led. So I was colouring outside the lines. And I'd spent, all those decades of colouring inside the lines, and thinking, is this it? And thinking, oh, okay, this is it. And then when I started colouring outside the lines, I was kind of like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I love this. And through that kind of journey, I had spent all those decades here. I wasn't embodied because I didn't have an example. I didn't have that as an example. And when I think about it, my schooling days were look at the front, you can't go to the bathroom until it's break time. Like there was no time that I could connect in with my physical body and listen to it. I just didn't have it modeled. I had the opposite modeled. And so through my healing journey, I'm a morning person. I don't go to bed late. I go to bed early. I'm up early. And there was this dance class. It still goes. They've just had their 6th anniversary. It's called Morning People, and it's dance music, 6:30 in the morning for an hour and a half at a nightclub. So it's drug-free, alcohol-free, and all the leading local DJs. So I was going to that each week, and it's dark, you're in active wear, and I just went in. And I just danced my little butt off. And even though there's full-on dance music going on, you know, uns music, I just massive downloads, and felt every, you know, cell and inch of my body. And so I taught myself embodiment. And it was a breadcrumb. And I went because I loved it. And then I went because I was receiving so much. And then it just keeps going, you know, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And now that umbrella voice it's louder than my small self. And it's leading me to everything that is sacred. So very, very much focused on sacred sexuality, obviously, because we're connected with sacred nectar. And I love that because of the amount of time I have had in science. I feel like I am the bridge between the science and the sacredness. And there's such power, you know, of that. And there's such, I feel like I'm in a privileged position because people will sit up and think, oh, okay, can't be too crazy. You know, this girl's been, you know, frontline. They wouldn't let her be frontline if she was totally crazy. So it's lovely to be able to magnetize more people with having had that experience. And like I used to keep a little, you know, magic and miracle list. And now I've stopped because the list was so big. And now the magic and miracles just come every millisecond, you know. And even now when shit comes, I turn it into manure like that. I just turn it into manure, and I just experience growth from it. Does it hurt? Yeah, it still hurts. Like I'll give you an example. Recently, I missed out on something. I so thought it was mine. Like I was like, this is mine. This is what all the other no's are from. This is so a yes. And it was a no. And I was just like, really? You said no? I couldn't believe it. And within 30 seconds, I was like, wonder why. I wonder what better's coming. So I have really gone from following these breadcrumbs. I've gone from living in the dark with splatterings of light to living in the light with splatterings of dark. And I can tell you which one I'd rather live in, is the light, by the way. And that means that I color outside the lines, and that you know, that challenges people, seeing you change, shift, move, grow. But again, I've just turned that into manure. And now I wholeheartedly believe I'm a healed healer, whereas when I was in the front line, I was an unhealed healer. And so Heart Place Hospital is a centre for healing healers. So how that looks is I work with frontliners, so nurses, doctors, teachers, retail, parents, and our future healers. So the little Jackies, the little Megs, who were showing up in our education system as quirky, differently abled, sensitive, more creative, more visionary, more dreamy. And because I wholeheartedly believe there are change makers and chain breakers and earth shakers, and what they're going to be doing in the future is not even invented. So I believe my whole, like if I was, you know, the paper doll, like if my whole journey of paper dolls is for this time to be the light at the top of the lighthouse for our frontliners and for our future frontliners, and to create change from this chaos, and and it's science-based, it's proven, and I'm the bridge. I'm the opening the door between the two worlds. And it's just been so, all that I've been through has been so worth it for this, so worth it. And I know what you mean by, the sacred side of it. Like it's I believe that I'm receiving to create magic, to create change for the better. And so I receive, and then it's just this kind of beautiful flow that happens. And I'm really seeing that the shift. And we're still at the very, we're in the messy middle, we're at the beginning, we're at the narrow part of the birth canal. But I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing that there's collaboration, and there's community, and there's connection, and there's and I'm seeing less of, or seeing it go away more of, the competition, the you or me. I'm seeing more of you and me, that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where we're all receiving, we're all living in sufficiency, we're all rising up, and that doesn't mean that the shit doesn't still get flung at us. We just turn it into manure. Yeah. That's me raising daughters. So that's no coincidence. And they're now almost 15 and 17. So getting sprinklings from me, but very much in the institutions. So, and obviously on social media and stuff. So it's we've got work to do. Yeah.
That's what you're here for. You're getting a lot of resonance with those watching, really feeling like they resonate with the unhealed healer. Before I ask you to share a bit more about your vision with the Heart Place Hospital, I'm just wondering if there's anything you would say, like what would you say to those who are going, oh my God, that's me, I'm the unhealed healer.
Well, this is where, this is science again, where we function on autopilot, and our autopilot, 95% of our subconscious, and majority of that's formed by the time we're 8 years old. And so then that's formed by whoever's been in front of us. So our core family, our teachers, our health providers. And so I think, and so I see people now behaving really badly, particularly at the moment. I follow astrology, so I know why. And I just see kids running around in adults' bodies. And I've made the choice. I drew a line. I'm like, I'm going to be an adult in an adult's body. I'm going to be the light. I've been told as a Indigenous woman to dull down all my life. I've got some time to make up. So I'm going full glow. So yeah, going back to the unhealed healer. So it's like a badge of honor, you've come into this world, you're a carer, you give until you've got nothing left in you. And as a nurse, there was a lot of guilt involved, we're short-staffed, and you knew your sisters, you knew when you were short-staffed. So there was a lot of it was clever, actually, how it was manipulated. And I look back now and I think we enabled all that. We enabled it, and it's still been enabled, but things are crumbling. I'm sure it's happening with you guys too. And as stuff happens around the world, Roe versus Wade, and last week with the Finnish Prime Minister out dancing, I'm kind of like, bring it on, bring it on. You're actually, you're making this easy for us. You really are. Because people are kind of like, what? And I recently saw Marianne Williamson speak, and she talked, I love this analogy, she talked about when a bird is chipping at the egg to get out, how do they know when it's time to chip the egg? And a noxious fume comes through, and so they want to get out. So they're dying to be born. And this is what I'm seeing, like we're, you know, this, we're dying to be born. And I call them managers, I don't call them leaders. I call us who are fucking bravely, like it's no mean feat. Like it is not being a walk in the park. It's been, I've had to really grow my testicles, you know, you know, I've done it with heart racing and, you know, like so sweaty palms and thinking, God, it'd just be easy if you just wanted to drink wine and eat chocolate, Jacqui. And I just can't. There's this fire in me, this push in me that you know, we've put up with this for thousands of years. We can't put up with it for another. And it's just going to take the army. We're just going to build an army, and you know, take it from me. Use me as an example. The army that I'm creating and being part of, they're cool. They're cool chicks and guys. We've got some really cool awakened kings. You know, Vikings. They're cool. They're cool, and they get it. They're like, oh yeah, we you know, we support you, we guard you, and we benefit. And you're like, too right you do, yeah. Yeah, and so the unhealed healer looks like, in no judgment, because I've been there, we're victim martyrs, and so we and it's a trauma response, you know, and I've been there. I'll stay inside the system and I'll help from the inside. And yeah, I've I've tried both, and duality doesn't work for me. It's there's only one way, yeah, for me. And it is Heart Place Hospital. And so I'm actually physically building a space, because I have been evangelical, I've been an activist, I've been to the government, and I'm very solution focused. The way my anger comes out is by taking action, which is interesting. And so I'm being the example. So I'm actually physically building a hospital. It's a small hospital, and it's where our frontliners will come. So our carers, I call them carers, healers. So future carers, future healers, and you come with someone else. So you come with someone from a barometer of your life, so that when you leave, you've both taken on the energy and the healing. Because I believe this kind of dropping off and then picking up, I just don't get it. So you come with a significant other, and there's a menu, and in the menu is a smorgasbord, but there's self-care, mindset, and energy. So self-care and mindset's never been enough for me. I've had to energetically shift things, which is, you know, our autopilot. Because that's all been formed by whoever was in front of us at that time, and from whatever was in front of them at that time, and and so on, the generations. And it's a co-creation. So on that smorgasbord is people from local, national, and global, because we know now we don't have to go to the doctor at the corner of the street. We can use whoever from around the world. And so those people, they leave not only with an opportunity to experience self-care, mindset, and energy, as well as, you know, like there's an apothecarium, there's all the tools, you know, that you can think of that we we know of. Crystals, oils, pleasure toys, any of those things. And then and that's a co-creation as well. So I welcome everyone to, be part of that. And so when they leave, not only do they leave with their healing journey started with the breadcrumbs, they actually leave with a healing roundtable. So they leave with their own healing roundtable, but they also leave knowing, wow, there's all these other people in the world that do this. And so one day the umbrella voice might say, hey, remember you saw that on the menu? Maybe that's what you need right now.
Yeah.
And I talk about healing roundtable. I talk about mindset. So that's, our autopilot. I talk about our intelligences, how I just lived in my head. I was just a head that walked around the world. And then I embodied everything. So our, embodiment, but our intuitive and our energetic intelligences. And then, once you start getting that ball rolling, then you discover all these amazing other intelligences, right? And they're so got their biggest pom-poms out for us. And then this healing roundtable. So rather than seeing the doctor for 7.5 minutes and they decide what you need, you're on this, you meet experts with your expertise. And so we've all got patches on our patchwork quilt, which is us, so I've got 8-year-old who had open heart surgery, and I've got, nurse and all these things, patches on my patchwork quilt, they're part of my experience. They're not my truth. And so when we meet with our healing roundtable, we come in with our experiences, we put our patchwork quilt on, and they put their patchwork quilt on too. And we meet in the middle. Hey, this is my experience. This is where I'm coming. Oh, well, can I suggest? And so it's partnership. It's a partnership agreement. And then so now I've got a large international global healing roundtable. And so I use my intelligences and go, okay, what do I need now? And I've got a really low tolerance now. So when I had my perfect storm, my smoke alarm was gone off. Like it was gone off. Now my smoke alarm just goes beep, and I'm like, what's out of alignment? What have we missed here? And probably 90% of it I can do myself, and then 10% I just lean out to my healing roundtable, and I've got people on that who we have mutual agreements of just witnessing one another. Not just of witnessing one another, that's a better word. And when you think about it, you run on 90-95% of your autopilot, it's perfect. It's been a game changer. Someone to say, oh, did you realize you were saying this? You've been saying this. Oh, did I? Had you noticed that you've, been doing this? I'm like, God, I have too. So having someone to witness you in a non-judgmental, but also with boundaries, so the people that witness me, we've got this mutual agreement. We ask, have you got the energy? I've got something just to kind of bounce off with you. And because our tolerance is so low, because the smoke alarm just goes beep. They're not big things. They're not big things. Yeah.
I love that you put a percentage to that. It's just, I experienced such a similar thing in my work. And this is what we do is, like you said, your tool belt, the toolkit that you have, and you're providing that, and you and them, like you said, the round table from around the world. And just hearing you, the burnout, the feeling not enough, the busyness, like that just hits on so many levels. And like you said, when we're on autopilot, what happens with that burnout is it's just like all circuits fried, and we need, it's like, it's at that point where there needs to be something else that or someone else who can help us, instead of building up that toolkit so that we can be that person for ourselves. And this is what I truly think too, for those healers or who are stepping into this global round table, just at a in the collective level, is those who are showing up as healers, who are teaching those who walk alongside us how to be their own savior, like how to find salvation through your own being. And like you said, this, I just love how you, you had shared it with me before, but that analogy from Marianne Williamson, where she was saying this, dying to come to life. And that's what salvation feels like, when we can get to a place where all of a sudden we feel even more alive, instead of walking through this dull haze, like this, like the zombie analogy that we see at a collective level. And so to be able to give that solution, to be, hey, I can handle this myself. And like you said, I but sometimes we just need that, to be able to have someone who, when we are triggered, there's someone there who can hold safe space. And I love how you pointed out that when we have, and the power of that, and the power of being a space holder, which this is what this work is. And I love that analogy to sacred sexuality, because that is the function of the womb, is to be the space holder. And it's we're these walking juicy wombs through the world. And that's what we're able to do, is just to be a space holder for people to just show up in their triggers, and show up when they are sad or angry or ecstatic, whatever it is. Sometimes we just need someone to be able to be there with us. So just goosebumps, because it's such magic that you're bringing. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking of a conversation that we had in Sacred Nectar around that experience, like when you were talking about how the duality for you wasn't working, right? So no more of one foot in this side of the line and one foot in this other side, because and the enabling piece, because you being in the system, and in the rooms and around the multitude of people who are exhausted and on the edge of burnout, or just on that autopilot, just getting up and making it through the day. I would love to and I'm totally going off script here, but I feel like it's so relevant of the, like you had said, the things that we can no longer enable. Like, what were some of the things that you saw that really showed the level at which, again, on a collective level, that sacred component of the work, and the thought that, hey, these are beautiful, this is a beautiful human being that I'm working with.
So love this, and actually relevant to some of the clients I've had this week who are still in the front line, in burnout, in front line. So I was witnessing people asking for help. And so, in the kind of mental health space, we're all like, just ask for help. And for someone who presented with mental decline, I thought I was screaming for help. And it didn't come. And so didn't come how I wanted it, or needed it, deserved it. And that's why I've created the space that I have, because I've created what I was screaming out for.
Mhm.
And so so I see people, and so when people scream out for help, they don't go help. They might show up with bad behavior, or they might show up with elaborate stories, or they might show up hysterical, and to other people who hold space for them with judgment, they're being ridiculous. They're being too, they're being too dramatic. Enough. And so I was witnessing this, and I was like, but they're asking for help. And literally, and these were serious asking for help, and they literally managed it just managed it away. And I was like, am I the only one that can see this? I was the only one that could see it, because I was now the healed healer. And those that were managing were unhealed healers who were using judgment, who were using, who were burnt out themselves. They didn't have care, what I call the care tank. Their care tank was empty. And so as a soul healed healer in that moment, I realized I couldn't hold space for this, all of that. I couldn't hold space for all of it. And so and it was not easy. I had to walk away. And that's when I walked away and realized that I can do more on the outside than I can do on the inside. And it was really, really tough. And then now I'm coaching lots of frontline staff who are incredibly experienced. With their expertise that they have, we absolutely need in the world, absolutely need them. They're so burnt out that their energy, when they're, and we've got science around this, biometric energy between two people, and we were designed, to feel each other, to heal each other. And so I've got a couple at the moment who are on their sick leave. They've got a couple of weeks left. They don't care. They've got no care left. So they'll go back to the front line, and those who need them at their fullest will get them will get what's left of them. Right. So we counterintuitive. There'll be symptom controlling. There won't be any healing going on in that relationship. And so when I'm working with these people at the moment, academically they can understand what I'm saying. But because of what we've been modeled, and because of our money mindset, and because of hierarchical, conditioning, there's a lot, they have to really step into their courage to take radical action. And what I can do for them is show up as an example. Hey, I've done it twice. One time, I was a nurse manager and I left, and they replaced me with 3 people. That's, I can get stuff done. Us carers are really good workers. And a week later, I had in my letterbox a check for $31,000 from a forgotten superannuation account that I had in my 20s.
Wow.
And then I did it again 14 months ago. $15,000 showed up just after I'd done it. And so all I can do is be an example to this, that this is your smoke detector going off, and we need your expertise. However, you too can dare to care differently, and we can utilize as citizens, as a community, your expertise outside of that concrete jungle that is is toxic.
I love this is, that's the army, that's the army that you're here to build.
It is. I know. And you know what, like sometimes I'm like, really, do we like, and then, but mostly I'm like,
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm just like, really, is it my hero's journey? Oh my God. So this takes a lot, like I need my army for me to keep showing up. And but I answered the call. I got the call. I got the hero's call, and it said, will you care for the carer, and will you care for the future carer? And I said, yeah, I would. And so I've taken the oath to growth, and I'll take it, I'll turn the shit into manure. But like I said, I've got a really low tolerance of my own smoke detector. And I invest in my number one asset, me, so much. And every time I do, I receive. So
I know,
yeah.
you and the universe have like your communication is is on.
Oh, even like, well, I've told you this before. I've like gone, is someone like, are you is it cameras?
Your stories are the best. Like,
oh my gosh, magic and miracles. Yeah. And I'll take that. I'll take that. If I
that's what you're here to work with, 100%. And you get to be the beacon. I think you're right. And this is why you have to do this, and why like you've got to get your voice out there, and why you've got to play big is because as you work these magic and miracles, like the more that, and literally everyone with Jacqui, the more that she works them, the more that comes through, and we get to see it, right? When you're present and sharing it.
Yeah. And I just use me as an example. And not only do I bridge the science and the magic, but I'm bridging, like I'm just all of a sudden I'm attracting 24-year-olds and 72-year-olds, and I'm 48, so that's 24 in between. Yeah. And like these beautiful 72-year-old people that I'm working with, I'm like, we need you. We need your expertise. We don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
And then to the beautiful, young futures, they're wild, they're cool, and they're ready to shift, and they won't take, and that's what I say to people, like, I've paved the way. I've been to the school of hard knocks, and I've paved it so smoothly you could roller skate on it, and you have to, with roller skates, you can't even have a grain of dirt on your path. So that's how smooth I've made it. Yeah.
I love to, like, as you were talking about, what stepping out of the one arena, I don't feel like we can call it stepping out of the concrete jungle, like you'd said. I think a lot of us recognize what it feels like to be served a healer who is on empty. Like you'd said, when you go in and someone doesn't necessarily see you, and it's just, they see their pad of paper and a prescription that is for you. And I often think, because in my journey, this is prescriptions are a really huge deal because, often they are prescribed, like prescriptions of surgical procedures or chemicals that both have a dramatic impact on the human body. And I know, like, I think of when I remember, and I don't even know how I got into this, Jacqui, but I had a pap smear done in the middle of my first pregnancy. I don't know why anyone would be providing a pap smear during a pregnancy. I didn't know at the time, though. I had no idea that this wasn't standard. This wasn't normal. I trusted my doctor. I went in. And what we found out in the middle of my pregnancy was that I had abnormal cell growth on my cervix. So like, I just looked at, that's not something, yes, it was important to discover, but not in the middle of my pregnancy. Like, it just added so much stress. And then I remember, it was, we'll manage this after you've delivered. And so there I was with a newborn, with anyone and everyone who's had a child here, would know what your hormones are like in that time. And so it was me, you know, and the exaggerated fear of, I'm not going to get, you know, like I just went to the worst. This was very similar to your journey, right? Where it was like, this was total breakdown for me. I didn't have the right tools in place. And I went to the most dramatic, I'm going to die. I'm not going to see my beautiful baby grow to live. And then, so immediately out of fear, took the prescribed procedure of going in for a LEAP procedures, which was surgical. And had I had some tools and had, you know, an informed conversation instead of just the prescribed answer, like the whole, and this is what I love about your work, you know, it's like how you describe it as a whole health approach. Had I had a full informed conversation about not just that your world is ending and you might die, I probably wouldn't have had the surgical procedure done, because it ended up playing into how my next pregnancy went, you know, and I was on bed rest for 3 months. So it really had a massive impact on my life hereafter. I celebrate it now because, like you said, turn the shit into manure. I see why this all happened, because it was part of the path to leading me to the work that I do. But this is what it can look like when we have, you know, individuals who are showing up with empty cups, just giving answers without really this whole health, wholehearted approach. We'd also had that conversation about the experience for a lot of women who go in for pap smears, what a cold, painful, uncomfortable experience that can be. And I know, yes, someone had mentioned earlier, you know, this is that informed, trauma-informed approach. But I think it also just has to do with full cup, empty cup.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I mean, a massive reason why I target the frontliners, is because you're not healing someone, you know, the science is there. You're not providing the healing support of the person that's in front. So even teachers, you know, for example, especially, you know, that our autopilot is mostly formed by the time we're 8 years old. So anyone that's in front of under 8-year-olds, you know, we want them in top form. And we've, so many of us have been led to believe that it's selfish, you know, to invest in your number one asset. Whereas more and more we're just seeing the evidence. But also the other thing is I believe we'll get this message out a lot faster around being our own whole health experts, because you know, a teacher sees, you know, can see 30 kids a week, a nurse can see 100 people a week, you know, like actually I don't want a nurse to see 100 people a week, I want a nurse to see less than that, but you know, but if we get to the frontliners who are seeing groups of people, and if we can help them protect their energy, if we can help them release what's not their energy, if we can support them to keep their care tank to care full, if we can provide them with the language, the understanding, the remembering, and if we can support them to adhere to the practices we now know support us. And I use the word adhere because we have the word I've lost the word, compliance. You know, Jacqui, meditate every day. Or, hey Jacqui, if you create some space for some silence, you know, you'll get some beautiful downloads, and it will, you know, your umbrella voice will come through and you won't get wet. I'll be like, okay, well, I'm up for that. So that's adherence compared to compliance. Do this. So if we can get our frontliners, you know, these people, retail, parents, you know, you think about parent, you know, as a parent, as a child in an adult's body, you know, 90% of me was my child as a parent. And again, I just did what I was modeled, which was now 30 years old, and they were doing what they did, what they were modeled, which was 30 years old, which was, and so I think with our army that we're remembering, and we've been guided by, these, by divine source. We're resourcing, reconnecting to source, which is how I started. I danced with fairies and spoke to animals and had downloads as a little girl, and it was acceptable. And now, if more and more of us show up as adults in adults' bodies and say, "Hey, me too," it's okay. We're not going to look like crazy ladies. And
a crazy lady.
There's a lady. There's a crazy lady that lives in this attic. And then there's the truth and self energy that I and the crazy lady in the attic. She tries.
Always will.
Yeah. And I'm like, crazy lady, come dancing with us.
Befriending it.
Yeah. So yeah, I just keep going, and I've on repeat, I've said care for the carer, heal the healer, and our future healers and future carers. And honestly, the bread, my breadcrumbs are now turned into gold nuggets. My gold nuggets, I'm just like, oh, another gold nugget. Oh, I am in the right direction. And they come in all sorts, they come in, gosh, I was watching a movie, documentary on the 13 Thai boys that got lost in the cave 4 years ago. And when you notice what you're noticing, you see messages everywhere. And in that movie, in that documentary, I noticed like the guys, the cave divers, quirky, like all bullied at school, super quirky, socially awkward, but saved 13 little boys' lives. So we need to celebrate, we need to celebrate our differently abled, our quirky, those of us that colour outside the line, because we might just save 13 boys from a cave one day. And this is what our schools are, they're starting to do. But as a rule, our schools are still celebrating the academic, the socialistic, and I think there's such a space to celebrate our quirky, our differently abled, our visionaries, and the way that we can get them so they don't have to have the Mack truck, the perfect storm, is have our frontliners go, hey, we see you. And we know that you're asking for our help. We can see your smoke detectors going off, and we're not going to judge how that smoke detector goes off. We see you, we hear you. And that's leadership. That's light leadership. And what I was seeing was management. My moral compass just swung out, and that's why I would burn out. Yeah.
I just love that. Like
my amazing body.
Yeah. And everyone can resonate with those, like we're human. So we know anger, and we know frustration, and we know crazy, and we know like sadness and all these things. Don't show your emotions, like, oh, don't overreact. And it's like, actually, as humans, let's react. And so I just like, my heart swells to think that there's going to be an army of us out there who are like, you want to I'm going to hold space. You go ahead and rage, or like you need to cry until you are a heap on the floor, cry, and I'll be right here as I'll be here to pick you up. Like, it's just beautiful truth bumps.
I know, me too. And like, honestly, I've got front row seats. I've got the biggest bowl of popcorn. I'm freaking excited. Advantage of being a visionary, I know it's going to be cool. It's going to be way cool. And it's going to happen. We're in the messy middle. We're in the narrow part of the birth canal. We're in between stories. And so at the meantime, we need to love each other up, love ourselves up, love each other up, love the earth up. Love is the panacea.
Yeah, the medicine. So if people want to connect, a couple of things, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook, Heart Place Hospital, or join my personal page, Jacqui O'Connor. I'm that's public. I'm on LinkedIn, and
any exciting events coming up that people can catch with you?
wow, you and I are doing our second round of Sacred Nectar starting New Zealand at September the 8th at lunchtime. So connect. And I have superpowers of having funding. And I've got a fundraiser too. Be easier if you're in New Zealand. But I've co-created a cacao. So it's called Wild Heart. So my friend Kimberly owns Wild Crafted. So we've combined. And it's full of rose petals. So it's a Mary Magdalene blend. So you'll be consuming magic and love, and then you'll be oozing out magic and love. and that's via my charity. So my hospital is a charity. Another superpower I received.
Part of her magic, folks.
I know, right? I love that it still surprises me. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, super. So everyone make sure you connect with Jacqui, because like I said, she is a beautiful example, and it's inspiring and it's motivating. And if you want to remember the magic that is present in the world, like, eyes on Jacqui. Absolutely.
Here's an example.
And if you want to feel it, 100% come and join Jacqui and I on the next round of Sacred Nectar. The first one was so phenomenal. I send Jacqui these random voice messages all the time, just like with like giddiness that just bursts forth from me. I don't even want to wait until September 8th.
I know.
And it's 6 weeks. It's a beautiful length of time. It's not overwhelming. It's an hour a week, and it's juicy, juicy content. And it's very much as Jacqui described, how, it's beautiful because she has the clinical experience and the energetic experience. And we go through the female reproductive system, and we look at the anatomy and then the energy function, which is not taught to us anywhere. It's not in textbooks. It's not in our sex ed that we grew up with. So it's a really, really powerful 6 weeks. And we have, I think, six or seven women already.
Yeah.
Seven in the space. So
And our previous rounds, a lot of them were frontliners, and they're going off to do some pretty phenomenal things. So yeah, it's a real activator.
And like you had mentioned with 2 girls, and this is, and the young, like everyone's with children, whether female or male, this is powerful to have this wisdom to pass on to that generation. Because as Jacqui had mentioned, even, those 24-year-olds that she's working with, these upcoming generations are going to be game changers. So we want to spread this wisdom and ripple effects in as many ways as we want. And the early bird pricing is on until August 31st. So come and get it. It's we'll put the link in the comments below if you guys want to go and check out the page and book in with us. And if you are in New Zealand, speak to Jacqui, because again, one of her superpowers is finding funding. So it's going to be so good. I can't wait. I'm so happy that you were able to come on, Jacqui. This was such a phenomenal conversation. I just love getting to listen to what your vision is, what you are bringing to the world. It truly is so motivating and inspiring. So thank you for coming and sharing your voice and avenues.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Well, we wish everyone a beautiful evening. Thank you to everyone who joined on live. That was a delicious energy. We've got to go check the comments out here, Jacqui. There's been a lot of beautiful responses. So Jacqui and I will get back to you, and hopefully we'll see some of you in Sacred Nectar, and stay tuned for who will be joining us on Sacred Sex, Drugs, and Roll next month. It's not totally confirmed, but I believe we're going to be talking about plant medicine. So it's going to be good. Take care, everyone. See you, Jacqui. Thank you so much.
Bye.